Well, hi. Welcome to the Terrible Lighting Show. My name is Alex Weir. My channel is named after me because narcissism. It is the informal channel as opposed to the Fractal Journal YouTube channel, which is associated with my website, www.fractaljournal.com, where you can find stories, ideas, and more. I'm drinking a Maiselweise, which my buddy's restaurant has on tap. It's pretty good stuff. It's German. It's Hefeweiss beer. Today we're looking at C-metrics, precision flow measurement, and Onicon brand, which I assume is some kind of water meter company. But I found them because I'm reaching for vlog topics, and obviously I need to start working on this water thing I've been babbling about for the past few years. So I thought, in my traditional lazy way, I would go ahead and Google something, and this came up. What I typed into the Google search was the future of water. Yeah, so it got me 18 surprising projections about the future of water. Isn't technology great and slightly terrifying? All right, let's go ahead and start to scroll on down here. I'm reading this from top to bottom because of self-interest. The first one, it's pretty close to home. I'm in the southeast. I was thinking, I might be wrong, because I don't give a shit about geography, but if farmers in Kansas keep irrigating at present rates, 69% of the Ogallala aquifer will be gone in 50 years. Now, Kansas is in the Midwest, which is not terribly far from the southeast. And that means a bunch of yahoos are going to come to my neck of the woods. I'm just not all into that. Okay. Between 2050 and 2100, there is an 85% chance of drought in the Central Plains and southwestern United States, lasting 35 years or more. That's a lot of years for drought, and if there is an 85% chance, that doesn't sound very good, does it? Yet we're not hearing about this in the news. We're hearing political bickering about global warming. Whatever you believe, there's other issues out there, okay? And they're just as pressing. By 2050, 1 in 5 developing countries will face water shortages. UN's Food and Agriculture Organization. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. As you develop, you have greater demand for resources, and that demand for resources requires water because it's kind of what is the term? Not apex, but it's just this very central resource that you need to create and obtain all the other resources. Axis. There we go. Now, water demand is projected to grow by 55% by 2050, including a 400% rise in manufacturing water demand. What is manufacturing water demand? Well, every time you make something like that over there, which I think uses oil because it's a plastic, you need water for that process. Anything that's industrially produced requires water, including watering the guys that are working on the assembly line and the trucks they drive and all that stuff do. Now, feeding 9 billion people by 2050 will require a 60% increase in agricultural production and a 15% increase in water withdrawals. Agriculture and water, like agriculture and industry, go hand in hand. So far, not a very rosy picture, is it? Compared to today, 5 times as much land is likely to be under extreme drought by 2050. Continuing with the doom, the number of people living in river basins under severe water stress is projected to reach 3.9 billion by 2050, totaling over 40% of the world's population. Gosh darn it. By the year 2040, there will not be enough water in the world to quench the thirst of the world population and keep the current energy and power solutions going if we continue doing what we're doing today. So either we're going to have to innovate in some unprecedented way, or we're going to have to conserve, or more likely, a combination of the two, which is why we need as many eyes as possible on this topic, which is why I'm making this video. All right, so by 2035, the world's energy consumption will increase by 35%, which in turn will increase, did I just read that? I don't know. They all sort of sound similar after a while because they're just all terrible. Yeah, if current usage trends don't change, the world will have only 60% of the water it needs in 2030. Now, see, about all these projections, a lot of times they're more gloom and doom than reality because if you read Steven Pinker's book, things are actually getting better. And also, we had the Green Revolution, which stayed the hand of doom that was predicted, I think, in like the 60s and the 70s, where everybody thought we were all going to starve to death when there was a bunch of Malthusianism going on. But, you know, still, things go at kind of a crazy pace, and everything is unpredictable, and generally, caution is better than just letting your balls flap out in the wind. That's all I'm saying. Now, water demand in India will reach 1.5 trillion cubic meters in 2030, while India's current water supply is only 740 billion cubic meters. So, supply is outweighed by demand, which means you're going to have to start importing water like Saudi Arabia, despite the fact that I think India is kind of a water-rich nation. It's got the Narmada River, it's got a lot of rivers, it's got the Ganges that it's famous for, but yet there's so many people, and as they're modernizing, which they have every right to do, it's going to demand more water. So this is going to be something that affects everybody globally because we live in a global economy, kind of inevitably, but yeah, it's going to be a whole pickle. The global middle class will surge from 1.8 to 4.9 billion by 2030, which will result in a significant increase in freshwater consumption, which is true because us middle class folks, we like our showers. And I'm actually not like, oh my god, you get guilty about it and get all guilty and feel bad and you snip on your neighbor and be like, hey, I took like a 1 minute shower. I love the earth. Don't be that guy. Because most of the problems we have come from agriculture and industry. Yes, you should try to conserve as much as possible at home. But really, people moving into the middle class is a good thing because the more people that are in the middle class, the less kids they have. Generally what happens is when there's not enough stuff, you have big families because many hands make light work, especially if it's a society that's not technologically advanced. You need farm hands, you have a whole bunch of children. That's where those kinds of cultures, those kinds of older style cultures, still thrive in places with a socio-economic situation, for what I've come to understand. I could be wrong, so go ahead and call me an idiot if you want. But I put it out there. Let's go on up here. According to the U.S. intelligence community assessment of global water security, by 2030, humanity's annual global water requirements will exceed current sustainable water supplies by 40%. Now, this right here. Why is the U.S. intelligence community, which is tied with the military-industrial complex, interested in this? Because resources, competition over resources, is a flashpoint of conflict, even between neighboring states and counties. So that's kind of a security concern. So let's start paying attention to it instead of Kim fucking Kardashian. How about that shit? Alright. UN studies project that 30 nations will be water scarce in 2025, up from 20 in 1990. More gloom, more doom. There'll be about 1 billion more mouths to feed worldwide by 2025, and global agriculture alone will require another 1 trillion cubic meters of water per year, equal to the annual flow of 20 Niles or 100 Colorado rivers. So we kind of need to raise up a generation of little hydrology scientists, don't we? We need to make this kind of a sexy thing to be interested in water conservation, in better water management practices, instead of everybody wanting to sell each other's shoes through Amazon by upselling everything. And oh my god, I'm suddenly an entrepreneur because I can click around with something that's algorithmically designed to make it super easy for me to profit off of stupid fucking people by selling cheaply produced Chinese goods. Isn't that a fucking great idea for the goddamn world? Isn't it? Alright, let's fucking keep going. By 2025, an estimated 18 billion people will live in areas plagued by water scarcity, with 2/3 of the world's population living in water-stressed regions. That sucks. With only 7% of the world's fresh water, China plans to produce 807 million gallons a day from desalination by 2020, roughly quadruple the country's current capacity. Holy shit, China is insane. China is impressive as hell. Look, I have a lot of problems with what they do societally, but their ability to... Their ability for ingenuity and to take large-scale ambitious projects because of their collective mindset. Oh my god, their dams, it's their high-speed rail systems. It's intense, and we had better catch the fuck up, because societally, I'm a great fan of Chinese culture. Societally, in terms of like Western outlooks, you don't want to be dominated by the Chinese. I'm just saying. I'm not really worried about that because they're generally nice people, but still, it's just kind of like, come on, America, let's catch the fuck up here. By 2020, about 30 to 40% of the world will have water scarcity, and according to the researchers, climate change will make this even worse. Yeah, whatever you believe about climate, it does change, and if it changes to get hotter, and we've got water scarcity, that's going to suck. Or if it changes to get colder and it freezes, that's going to present another challenge. So I have been Alex Weir. Thanks so much for watching. Give this video a like if you like it. Head on over to my website, www.fragile.journal, to read stories and things. Right now I'm uploading a story called The Cottage, which is kind of like a suspense thriller type thing about a guy out in Appalachia. Anyhow, I have said goodbye. I will say it again. Cheerio.